Hi, I'm Jeff, and welcome to another one of my videos where I give you the opportunity to test your comic book grading skills up against actual results from CGC. This video is part 3 in a 5-part series where I am taking a look with you at the 15-book submission that I have right here in my lap. This submission was made available to me and to you and to all of us by good friend to the channel, Octavio. Thank you, as always, Octavio, for making your submissions to CGC available to us so that we can test our comic book grading skills. These were all economy tier books submitted with the in the economy tier. Basically means, for those of you that don't know, is that they came out before 1975. There's some information about this that I would recommend that you get before watching this series. It all starts with part 1, which I'll put the card for right up there. So I definitely recommend starting this series with part 1 if you haven't already, and then watching them in numerical order. All right, for those of you who haven't seen my videos before and have decided like, Jeff, I just want to start with part 3. Okay, fine. Here's what we do in these videos. First, we take a look at video that I made of the books in this submission when they were raw, before they got sent to CGC. We are going to assess the books for any flaws, any damage, anything that might impact the grade negatively. Then we're going to come up with our best guess as to what we think the grade should be. Then we're going to pull the books out of here. We're going to take a look at what the actual results from CGC were. Did we nail the grade? Yay, good for us. More times than not, no, we don't. But that becomes an opportunity for us to learn. If we're too far off, we can go back to earlier in this video, take another look at the video of the book when it was raw, take a look at the grader's notes, use all the information that we have so that we can better understand why CGC gives books the grades that they do. All right, that's what we're doing here. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the next 3 books from the submission when they were raw. All right, first up we have The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 64. CGC notes on the label, Vulture appearance. Yeah, there he is right there on the cover. That basically is why this book is something you'd want to have. These Spider-Man covers from this era they're just fantastic. And this is no exception. Unfortunately, there is a decent amount of damage to this book. I mean, that spine is I would want to be very gentle with this book because I'm afraid that spine's going to go at any moment. The rest of this book looks really pretty great. I've mentioned it in the other videos before because this submission in particular just demonstrates to me how much a press can help with presentation. These books look as good as they do because of the press. Otherwise, all you would see are folds and creases and bends in the light, and every little detail of damage would scream at you. Hello, I'm here, but once you press them, they're still there, but they're definitely not as distracting to the art. This book looks pretty good, but there is all this staining. There is all these tears. Every little thing accumulates. All of it adds up. All that color rub in there, all that creasing. There's just a lot of damage on this book, so I give it a 4.5. Next up, we have The Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 56. The label says, first appearance of Captain George Stacy, also Dr. Octopus appearance. There's one of his octopi. This book is similar to the last one. It's got a very similar amount of damage. Very similar. This one might be slightly worse off, as you can tell through there. The creasing might be a little deeper. The color rub might be a little bit more substantial. All those color breaking creases there along the edge. I don't know if there is some tanning around the edges. It sure does look like there is tanning. I don't know if that was an effect in the art, but it's probably tanning. Yeah, when you see it on the back here, that's kind of confirmed. That's tanning. If the front of this book wasn't such a light color, you might not see it as much. There's a small missing piece. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear that there was some kind of, it was almost like, it looks like vignetting. It almost looks like it was intentional on the front cover. But no, that was all just tanning, as is clearly indicated by the condition of the back of this book. Some staining as well, missing pieces. This book has a lot of problems. I'm saying it's a 5.0. And finally, we have The Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 66. Let me guess, it's got a Mysterio appearance. It does. There's also a Green Goblin cameo and a letter from Carrie Burkett. I'm sure that that's a name some of you recognize. I don't. Not personally. But this book is very similar to the other two we have seen. It has a similar kind of accumulation of damage. It's interesting, like, what is the metric? What is the math? How does the damage add up? Well, that's tough, I think, to quantify. I'm sure that they do in their book, but especially in like 5, 6, 6, 5. It's just levels of damage. It's all damaged, but it's severity. This one actually looks slightly less severe. Slightly. For example, the tanning isn't as bad on this book as it was on the one previous to this. But there's plenty of creasing. There's plenty of, foxing, rounded corners, spine ticks, tears, stains, all the stuff that we've seen in all the other books. But once again, it's a severity thing. I don't think this one's as severe, so I'm going to give it a slightly better 6.0. All right, so you've seen the next 3 books that have come out of this submission. You've assessed them. You have your best guess as to what you think the grade should be. I have shared with you my best guess as to what the grade should be. Now it's time to find out what the actual results from CGC are. Now, I am pulling these out of here at random, just working from one side to the other. In the last video, we had the first of 2 copies of Amazing Spider-Man issue 124 that I pulled out of here. And I haven't been cheating. I haven't been looking at here. I'm assuming that will be the first book that I pull out of here, that they were next to each other. And they weren't. I would assume incorrectly. So what we have here is Amazing Spider-Man issue number 64. Let me look at my reference material and see what grade did I give it. Okay. My assessment was that it got a 4.5. Now what I learned in part 2 of this video series is that on mid-grade books, I'm a little bit too harsh by about 2 or 3 grade increments. So while I assumed at the time of my initial assessment that this would get a 4.5, I'm now assuming it's going to get a 5.5 or a 6. But once again, my 4.5 was my guess. That's what I'm sticking with. Let's see what the results are. Okay. Was I off in the consistent manner that I was in the last video? Yes, absolutely I was. I was off by, I think, by 3 grade increments in the last video, then 2, and then 2. And then once again, I'm off by 2 grade increments. And like I mentioned in the last video, although I'm not happy about being wrong, I'm happy about being wrong in a consistent fashion. That means that my criteria, at the very least, are consistent. Now I just need to adjust my expectations. And things that previously that I thought were like a 4.5 or a 5.0 are now more likely to be a 5.5 or a 6.0. So I'm absolutely learning a lot through the submission. I hope you are as well. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the next book coming out of here. Is it going to be that Amazing Spider-Man 124? No, it isn't Amazing Spider-Man, but it's issue number 56. This one right here. Let me see what grade I gave it. Let's see. Okay, so I gave it in my initial assessment a 5.0. So that means it's probably going to get a 6.0, considering how I now need to adjust my expectations. But let's see. What did it get? I guessed 5.0. I'm expecting it to actually be a 6.0 now. Let's see what the actual result from CGC is. Oh, a 5.0. Hey, I got one right. But that's interesting that I was right about this one. That means that probably initially there was damage to it or something that CGC dinged it to a higher degree than I had anticipated. So this is going to be a good one for me. I'm going to consider this, like, even though I got it right, I'm going to consider that I got it wrong. And I'm going to look at the grader's notes, which I always throw up here when I have the opportunity. And I'm also going to go back and look at this in the raw, and I'm going to compare it up against the other books in this submission and see how was I inconsistent here? What did I miss? Because I must have missed something for this book not to have gotten a 6.0, tracking relatively to all the other books that I've looked at so far in this submission. Okay, cool. We got one more. Oh, that's probably the one 124. I think some of the books fell over, or maybe they just did just now. Well, let's see. I don't want to look at the grade, but I want to look at there. Okay. Is this one going to be the Spider-Man 124, or are we going to have to wait another video for it? Yes, we are! Okay, so this is another Amazing Spider-Man, but not the 124. We'll see that in a later video. This is Amazing Spider-Man issue number 66. Let me look at my reference right here. There it is. In my initial assessment of this book, I gave it a 6.0. So, that being said, once again, now it's my expectation that it might get a 7.0. So let's see what the results are. Was it a 6.0? Was it a 7.0? Was it something completely different? Let's find out. Okay, you've seen the results. You know how you did. Let's see how I did. 6.0. Okay, so that's interesting as well. I got two of these exactly right. I mean, like I said, it's interesting to me that I was so consistently wrong, and now in these three books that we're talking about in this video today, I've gotten two of them exactly right. So once again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at the video of these books when they were raw. I'm going to take a look at the grader's notes. I'm going to see how all of that new information, and also comparing against like the decisions I made on the other books in this submission in previous videos, and use all of that information to once again make myself a better grader. And I hope you're having the opportunity to do the same. This is part 3 of this series. We have 2 more parts coming, lots more great books in this submission. If you want to continue on the ride and see what's going to happen next, I definitely recommend that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're notified when parts 4 and 5 are posted. In addition, if you appreciate the content that I am providing here, likes are very much appreciated by me, so don't be shy. Hit that like button. All right, thank you all so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.